It is Friday, August 16th, and I am Rob, that developer dad.
So yesterday, I had a heck of a time. The morning call, or the morning session, I didn't enable my microphone for the first 45 minutes of the stream. And then the afternoon, I fell down rabbit holes and went down paths, and I was adding and deleting code all over the place, and my head was just not in the game. And so rather than continue to chase my own tail, I said, you know what, I'm going to take the rest of the day off. And I did, and I looked into some things, and I did a little bit of retail therapy and ordered myself this nifty little toy so that I can use my iPhone camera and it follows me around the room as I move. And I looked into connecting my iPad to my Mac, and so that I can share the screen of the iPad, and that means I can do diagramming and stuff like that, and actually kind of think out loud and provide some visual elements and stuff like that as I go. And that's super handy because today I need to take a step back from what I was working on, do a little bit of thinking about how these different components are going to work with each other and how we're going to be transmitting messages from an inner component on the page to the page that hosts the components, and then that page can call events on the child components and so on. And I was just digging myself a hole, and it might be a whole lot easier for y'all to grok what I'm talking about if I actually do a little bit of sketching here. So I'm not going to use this. Instead, I'm going to use this, and I just want to select everything. How do I select on this thing? It's weird. Where's the eraser? And give me a big honking eraser. Object eraser. Here we go. Bonk, 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 bonk. Fun. Okay, so conceptually speaking, we have our application. And our application provides a number of features. So right now, our application only has one feature. My goodness, my handwriting is terrible. But within that feature, I'm just going to push this up here. Within that feature, we've got, here we go. Within that feature, we have a number of tasks. Task. Now, each of these tasks, as they happen or are performed, they'll create conditions. So on the way in, we have a trigger. Something triggers that task UI. And then when a task finishes, we want something to happen. And so and sometimes that task finishing means we need to transition to a different task. Like so. And so instead of a task directly referencing the other task, the specific task that needs to come next, because that will probably change over time. I think it's probably better if we set up something like this. So and this box represents sort of the memory space or the application space and all the code that our feature has, right? So I'm gonna go over here and just change that to text. And so our feature has a state, or rather, our feature is kind of the host for all the tasks. All right, we established that over here. Now, when we need a way for these tasks to notify that they've done a thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to create, I started down this path yesterday, and let's just call this an event sync. I just want to grab this guy. Whoop. Didn't want to do that. I'm still getting used to this. I'm a little out of practice with using the pencil for this kind of work. So we've got an event sync, and we've got all of our, we bring back the drawing thing instead of the text thing. And these are our tasks. And so instead of the tasks communicating directly with each other like this, and then this guy calls over here, and this guy calls something else, and who knows what, let's get rid of those arrows. What if instead whoops, don't want that, don't want that. All of these tasks raised the event out to the parent's event sync, and then the event sync brokered that task or that event back to the tasks, and the tasks decide whether or not they need to do something in response to that event. Or perhaps even the page could, the feature itself could register an event handler for various things. That to me feels like a much more sensible way of approaching this, because we don't know what all the tasks are going to be, because we're designing and we're developing iteratively here. So we're not, we have a plan, but the plan is very loose because we're trying to be, we want to respond to new ideas and feedback from users once we get to the point where we have users. And we don't know, it's impossible for us to plan every detail of everything that's going to happen and needs to be built out. All we can plan for is what we know today. But through the volatility decomposition that I've talked about in the past and so on, we can anticipate that things will change and construct our software in a way that's resilient to unknown changes to what our system needs to do. So I think I'm going to dig into this concept of creating just sort of a local in-memory event sync that is going to live at the feature level. And if I make it generic enough, I'm not going to try right up front to make it super generic so that it'll work for every situation. I'm just going to do it for something changed in one of these properties, and I want to propagate that out to the other components, its siblings, these tasks. So we've got parent, child, child. So kid one does something, says, hey, I finished making dinner, to the parent. And then the parent said, dinner's ready. Kid two sets the table, and everybody eats, and kid two clears the table and puts the dishes in the sink and tells the parent, hey, the dishes are in the sink. And the parent says, hey, kid three, go wash the dishes. Or the dishes are in the sink. And kid three knows that the dishes are their job. So they go to the sink and do the dishes and say, okay, dishes are done. And parent says, all right, the dishes are done. And the kids know that, the kids that care about the dishes being done can then react to that event. So let's flip over to Visual Studio. Here we go. And we have to go home and our NPCs. So we've got our townsfolk. And let's say we create a new NPC. And this is going to take a minute, but bear with me. I'm going somewhere with this. Do-de-do-de-do. And I did install updates and stuff last night, so everything is a fresh open on the PC side today. So I don't know how snappy things are going to be. I got all the applications that I use open an hour or so ago, but sometimes Windows wants to be groggy when it wakes up. So it's received the request. Is it doing the thing? I want to do something differently at in the AI component to provide more timely, fine-grained feedback, but that's outside of what we're going to do today. We have a first-time chatter. Hello, Gebs. How do you do? So this is sort of the code-level interaction design that I was just talking about with the screen share parent-child relationship. And I am building an application that I think is ultimately going to manifest as a web app, yes. And I'm using .NET and Blazor, and so far, knock on wood, I haven't had to use any JavaScript, thank God. It's not that I think JavaScript is bad, I just don't like using it. I struggle with it. I've always struggled with JavaScript, and yeah, I typically stick to the .NET framework for imperative development. I'm pretty comfy with HTML. Actually, I'm very comfy with HTML, and I'm not afraid of CSS, although there are aspects of it that make me grumble and complain. Mostly when I'm trying to center a div or stick something. I haven't used Java itself. Um, I've played with it a little bit, and having talked to Java developers and other architects who do use Java a lot, they're constantly complaining about how terrible the development environments are and so on and so forth. I understand Visual Studio beats Eclipse hands down in every developer experience metric you can think of. So we created our new NPC, and I navigated back to this list, and it didn't update. So in order to get this to update, yeah, I've heard good things about IntelliJ. Unfortunately, JetBrains does not have a freebie version. I don't know if Eldritch Merchant. No, we created him last night. So I have to come back out here to home, and I got to refresh. And let's see if it'll query the database this time. Eldritch Merchant doesn't look like it. Yeah, C# doesn't have a freebie. And honestly, I've been in the .NET ecosystem for basically my entire career and haven't felt the need to go outside of it, especially now that .NET Core is mature. And if I need to, I can compile this application, drop it into a Linux container, and host it literally anywhere. All right. You're going to behave yourself for me? Yeah, the big advantage that Java had, which was cross-platform capability, Microsoft basically made that go away by releasing .NET Core. And as far as the maturity of .NET Core and the capability of .NET Core, oh gosh, I need to go into my GHTools database before I run this query. Yeah, I could see that it would have an edge for desktop, especially with like Swing UI and whatever those frameworks are. Merchant retired. Okay, Eldritch Merchant. Oh, I know what I did. I generated the new NPC and I didn't save it. Duh. That's why it's not showing up. Problem exists between keyboard and chair. So back to what I was doing. Over here on the iPad cam split, this diagram here, I'm just going to bigify that. So I want to build this concept of an event sync with children, so on and so forth. So what I've done, and let's go back to the code window. I have worked in lots and lots of industries. I've done stock market analysis. I've done a good bit of consulting. The most successful years of my career were in the behavioral healthcare management space. I worked at a company based out of Charlotte for, gosh, not quite 10 years. And unfortunately, they got acquired, and the company that acquired them wasn't offering the compensation that I needed to see, or the compensation growth path that I needed to see. So I went back into consulting and worked for a variety of clients there. And then unfortunately, I got laid off in May. So now I'm doing this and teaching. Like, I'm doing this as a teaching, give back to the community kind of thing. So we have in the component services area, that's a folder that I added yesterday. I've got what I'm calling a property changed event, which children or parents will drop into a property change source, and I don't like the name of that. Oh, the job market in the past 2 years has been absolutely vile. And it's like, it seems like every week another one of the big giant tech companies is dumping another 10 to 20,000 competitors for what few jobs there are into the open market. And I can compete with a lot of developers, but I'm not competing with 15-year Intel alumni. Although, you know, those guys know how to make chips. They probably don't know how to make enterprise software. This property change source, I am going to change this to rename. Come on, where's rename? Where the hell is rename? Oh, it's running. I can't rename it. Duh. Rename. I'm going to change this to banking sector in the U.S. Having spent the past 20 years in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, which for a long time was the second largest banking city in the country, and understanding how the big banks do their development stuff and everything like that, it's talking to my friends who work for the banks. It's used to be semi-secure, but there's a lot of churn, and it's very heavily bureaucratic, heavily structured, The culture is very old school, but it's steady and stable. I don't know. Where are you based now, Gabs? Instead of local event sync, I'm going to change this to page event sync. Oh, you're in Egypt? Honestly, Egypt is as far as technology goes, and because we have the internet, Egypt's as good a place as anywhere else if you can stand the weather and the environment. You could, you obviously don't want to go outside of more than one or two time zones because working overnight and sleeping while the sun's up is a major drag on your brain chemistry. But honestly, I, I don't really feel like there's much of a need to move around for the sake of tech work. Yeah, I know. Like physically moving. If you have another reason to leave Egypt, then by all means go ahead. These tech skills are portable, and I think we're going to see the whole you have to come into the office nonsense go away again before too long because I think the current employer market is about to the tide on that is about to turn again, and it's going to turn back into an employees market. I hope because I'm unemployed right now and I really need it to be an employees market. But I think I think as the old school folks in the MBA, like the old school MBA type micromanagement, I have to watch you working. If I could carry a whip, I would. People as they age out and or change their ways and see the light. Hopefully, um, I think it's going to matter less where you do your work because you and I both know the only thing that really matters is quality. Like if the quality of your work is top notch, I don't care where you do it. I don't care what time you do it. If I can trust that you're going to knock it out the park, I want you on my team. I don't care where you are or when you work. We can communicate via email if we have to. And, once we've established that trust relationship, if I had employees, I wouldn't care where they were as long as they can get it done and get it done right. And I think, I think with the population differences that we see within millennials and Gen Z really entering the workforce with older millennials taking on more and more management roles. Gen X is split down the middle between hey, I want decent work-life balance, and I live to work, and so should you. And then, of course, there's our parents, which are I live to work, and so should you. Um, I think the whole landscape and the nature of work is going to change for the positive, and I can't help but believe that when it does, it's going to make for a better world for everybody. Would be my hope. But yeah, I mean, if you want to leave Egypt for other reasons, by all means, emigrate. But moving for the sake of a job or a profession or career, I I wouldn't because the days of hitching your wagon to one corporate horse or one industry horse or what have you, I think those are going away. You have to be much more mercenary than that. And based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need a safe and stable place to live. You need food in your belly. You need clothes on your back, and you need clean water to drink. How you secure those, I think, is going to become much more amorphous and less structured. We're probably going to see those changes unfold over the next 10 to 20 years. Hopefully, I find a new income source before too long so that I can start to transition out of working, trading my hours to somebody else and building things. What I'm doing right now is practice for that. So we have our page event sync and our page. Page models. Our create NPC page model is going to own one. And it's going to be a property. Sure thing. Sure thing. I didn't want to necessarily discourage you from moving to the United States or North America or anything like that. If you want to anyway, do it. But like I said, if it's just for the sake of getting into a particular industry or a specific job with a specific company, that's way too risky for this old guy. So we're gonna have a public property. No, not a public. This is C#, not Visual Basic, Rob. Public page event sync. NPC creator. NPC event notifier. Get set. And can I? No. Equals new page event sync. Notifier, system ability. Yeah, okay, so this is going to be internal. That's right. Now, hopefully that doesn't mess with me. I think I might have to make these public. Ew. So that they can work with the Blazor framework. Public record property changed. Okay. Page event sync. We're good. Register. Notify property changed. Async. All right. I am currently using Blazor Server. I'm not ready to dive into Blazor WASM yet. Page model, and in here on the, where's my constructor? Here it is. PageState equals list. And let's say, create NPC. What did I just call that property? Gosh, NPC event notifier. Yeah, ASP.NET Core is really, really nice. It is perfectly fine, but I like the idea of starting off with Blazor Server rendering, because Blazor Server rendering is basically ASP.NET Core, Razor Pages type thing. And then as time goes by, and I've identified which UI components would actually make sense to send down to the browser and have them hosted there versus what I want run on the server. Once I've identified what those pieces parts are, then I can start going hybrid and bouncing them back and forth. Or let's say I build a visual dice rolling component for this application. I could conceivably host that whole thing down in the browser. Although, there's a multi-user D&D encounter runner where I would actually want the rolls to happen on the server so that I don't get some script kiddie playing my game and say, okay, well, I'm going to roll a D20 and drop a breakpoint in their browser on the roll call and just change the result to 20. I would want like rules affecting or outcome affecting operations to all happen on the server where they're nice and safe and secure. Okay, NPC event notifier. I'm going to copy this before I forget what I called it again. Equals new page event sync. Bam. Save. Now, the constructor runs before the initialized. It has to. And I am going to say register NPC event handlers. Boop. And this is going to be a private. Load selectable NPC options. Here's my first private. Private void register NPC event handlers. Nothing to do here yet. But I want it there. Yeah, WebSockets is quite nice. I typically use SignalR for that because the APIs for SignalR are a lot easier for me to reason about than raw WebSockets. Honestly, I haven't looked into raw WebSockets all that much. So I have my event sync set up. And I'm going to come over to NPC list Razor. And let's close all of this nonsense down except for my page model. Close other tabs. I don't want the CSS, I want the C#. Here we go. So new NPC handler, view NPC handler. These are event callbacks that are passed into the NPC list that the NPC list component calls when UI elements are manipulated. I need a parameter public page event sync and NPC notifier get set. And I'm gonna make this nullable. And we'll come out to create NPC. And this is the NPC list. What did I call it? NPC notifier. Equals NPC event notifier. Event notifier. There we go. Save. Now, NPC event notifier. I need to add it to select NPC options. Yes. But not the Razor. I need to add it to the C#. And let's add it right here. It's going to be a parameter. It's going to be a public page event sync. And I'm going to call this NPC notifier. Get set. For what it's worth, Gabs, I have always wanted to visit Egypt. Just to see something older, like evidence of civilization that's older than time that I'm able to comprehend. Like the idea of being able to see something that people built 7,000 years ago is just awe-inspiring to me. And I love Middle Eastern food. I know that Egypt is technically Africa, not really the Middle East, but here in North America, we consider it part of that world. But yeah, I've always wanted to visit Egypt. But I need your neighbors to the north to calm down before I do that. All right, so we've got that. NPC notifier equals NPC event notifier. And I want to add that here as well. So I got to go into view NPC attributes, view code, send that away. Parameter. And yes, I know I'm repeating myself. Public page event sync NPC notifier. Get set. And I think I'll do it for one more. View code. Get rid of the razor. Come over here. Grab this guy. NPC attributes. Oh, yeah. View NPC details. View code. Current NPC. Use metric. Paste. So right now, the only thing I am going to do is we've got a property changed event. That's a little too generic, but excuse me. Now my event sync is expecting all of these property changed events and tasks. Handlers, okay. So I should probably name of the property, object value. I don't like that. I think instead of property changed event, I'm going to rename this to page state changed event. Yes. Quick actions and refactorings. Nope. Instead of public object new value, I'm going to change this to create NPC page states and copy, paste, save. All right, so let's come out to the NPC list.razor, because right now that's really the only one that cares about this create NPC, about the event happening at the page level. So NPC notifier, down here in the constructor, we are going to register page event handlers. And actually, I want to name that the same as I did over here. And I like the idea of, register NPC event handlers. Let's keep that. I'm going to copy this, paste it here. Good. And now I'll come down here to where I keep my private stuff. Here's execute filter. Register is going to be happening before anything else. Private void. Paste. And private async task, because if you notice in my event sync, it wants an asynchronous a function that returns a task and accepts a page state changed event. So this is going to be a private async task on page state handle page state changed. It's going to accept a page state changed event, and it's going to do stuff. Change that to notification. And all this is going to do is await execute filter. Bam. Now up here we need to register NPC notifier dot register property listener, and I need to change the name of that. And it needs to take in the handler, and it's going to be handle page state changed with a capital H. Save this. Only call that if it's nullable or if it's not null. And now over in the create NPC page model, NPC event notifier, page state. All right. I almost want to make this a private setter. On reroll clicked, on start over clicked. Generate NPC. Oh, I almost made a bug. Over here in the NPC list, if notification dot new value equals list, we only want to run execute filter That's the only time we want to run execute filter. So over here, start over click. Where's show list? I have a show list. Here we go. And NPC event notifier dot notify property changed async. Page state changed event EVT equals new page state changed event with new value equals page state name equals page state. We're not going to need name in a minute because I'm going to make that go away. EVT. Child component is going to be responsible for, because this call is not awaited, execution of the current method continues before the call is completed. Dot configure await false. All right. And that should give, that basically means, oh, for crying out loud. Sometimes IntelliSense gets really, really weird. New. Oh, for crap. Jeepers creepers, Rob. Let's do it this way. What are you doing? String name gets page state and value gets page state. And I can get rid of those lines because I've got required parameters on the constructor. Boop. So this might work. It might. I've got a needy cat. Let's see if this does what we want it to. Just before we break until the afternoon. Is it trying? Yep. Oh, build is running. Hooray. NPCs. We're loading. We don't have a state change here. Let's go to view. Back to list. Here we go. And we've got our event. And I want to come over to here where we've got this. I want to show next statement. I'm going to step in. How many tasks do I have? Okay. I have no tasks. It claims to not have any tasks, but I think that's rubbish. Okay, that did nothing for me. Stop. Restart. Array of tasks. All right. I wonder if it's getting lost. It's probably getting lost because it's not being held at the process level. And that would mean that this will not probably work. But that's okay. We can come up with another strategy for this. NPC list razor. Handle page state changed. Is this even firing? Stop, start. Go to the NPC page. Here we go. Notifier is null. All right. Then we need to see when it is being created. So here's this. Here's this. Get rid of that implicit nonsense. Get rid of that. Goodbye. Drop this right up here in NPC event notifier equals new page event sync. Okay. So we've got our constructor here for the NPC page model. Wait. Stop. And go. NPCs. Okay. Continue. Now, why is NPC notifier? Hey, what's up? Tofu the Lofu. Uninitialized. Why are you null? You have a view designer? No. Let's come out here. That's not it. I need to come out to page. What happens if I do an at this? Save. And yeah, the tech market's rough, ain't it, Tofu? Oh, it's just kind of silly season, but apparently some folks in the know that I'm connected to are seeing signs of new stuff happening. So why is this not appearing yet? Yes. The signs of improvement are happening-ish. Come out here. Can I see? Go to definition. I bet I have to make that public. Yuck. Public. Go. Yeah, I mean, the big companies are still chasing the magic penny on next month's earnings reports. But I think, like, I've seen what we're seeing happen a couple of times over the past however many years I've been paying attention, about 30 years. And companies start chasing the magic penny for the earnings reports. And then, why is that still null? Yeah, yeah. I just started really digging into Blazor about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've been hiding behind the API for well over a decade at this point. And now that I'm between jobs, um, I want to build an app and I need a UI tech and I don't want to learn JavaScript because that feels like pulling my own eyes out. So this NPC notifier is null here, but it shouldn't be. Yeah, it's not terrible. I can tweak. I can make minor changes to JavaScript if it's already established. But trying to build something up from scratch, like the whole way it works, where everything is global unless you do everything is global by default, is backwards to me. So why isn't this being? When is this being assigned versus when is it actually being instantiated? The whole page component lifecycle in Blazor is weird, though. Yeah, I've heard of the ES6 module system and everything like that. I honestly haven't looked that deeply into it. Yeah, I get it. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've looked at F sharp. There's a lot of concepts in functional programming that I really, really, really like as an architect. Um, all right. So instead of doing this during the constructor, because I feel like it's probably not happening, let's try it here on initialized. Save. Oh, yeah. What does DU stand for? I don't know all the acronyms around F sharp or even functional programming. Okay, discriminated unions. Gotcha. All right, we now have an NPC notifier. Yeah, I remember seeing an article about that relatively recently, about how it's maybe on the roadmap. Okay, so we're assigning our handler. Good. Continue. Awesome. Let's view one of these guys. And I'm just going to go back to my list, build up the event, and let's frickin' go. Handlers, we have one. Good. Continue. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Continue. NPC page states.list. All right. State is changed. Okay, I think that is in the wrong place. That needs to come back out to the page model and put it into the click handler. Show list. Where did I put that stuff? Where are the deuce? Why do I have two versions of create NPC page model? Where are you? Versus this. Save. Where's Show and File Explorer, or Solution Explorer? Okay. There's that. Build. I better rebuild. I have a feeling that Visual Studio and the runtime have gotten themselves into a weird state. But over here, I need to go state has changed. Save. And I want to go to definition. Yeah, that's fine. Name this. Register. Event listener. Save it. Run it. And if these couple of changes don't fix it, it's probably because I'm doing something not quite right, and it's probably a silly mistake that I will troubleshoot offline. So this is going to be my last kick at this can for this morning. And let's just continue. And we're back to our list. View. Back to list. Beautiful. Create. Generate. Go. Watch the language model do its gymnastics. And yes, I am running this under on a local language model. And I figure if I optimize the call stack and the call chain for running under a very, very slow local language model, when I migrate to the cloud and I'm using, say, Azure OpenAI service of some sort, it'll be even better. My idea here is to get it running acceptably on old hardware rather than relying on super powered, massive supercomputers to do this work. So there we go. There's that. Let's save them. Make sure you got saved. Execute. Thorny Halfling. Go back to the list. And it did not appear to update the thing. NPC list razor.cs. Let's come in here. Execute filter. That's all that does. And I do need to put a state has changed in there in the actual handler. Or did I put it in? I put it here. Okay. So that's on. All right. I got to call it quits for this morning. When I come back, I am going to... I'm going to put this in the right place in the code. Validate that this is executing and that I'm triggering the re-render correctly. There we go. And I'm going to stop. And I'm going to say I will see you all in the next stream. I go live again at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll get this knocked out. Or I'm going to get this troubleshot between now and 1. And then this afternoon, we're going to start cleaning up some of the actual visual elements. I'm not going to make them beautiful, but I'm going to make them less ugly and easier to work with. Or easier to deal with on the screen. I want to fix some of the scrolling issues and so on that I'm observing. So until then, take care of yourselves. Go have some delicious lunch. Drink some water or coffee or something with water in it. And I will see you again soon. Take care.